Hey, guys. I'd like to welcome you to the Science Channel. As you may have already realized, today we are going to talk about history, specifically early modern history. I decided to try the long video format so that you have the opportunity to learn more interesting facts. So grab your favorite snacks, drinks, and get comfortable. Let's go. First fact would be about the Age of Discovery. The Age of Discovery, also known as the Age of Exploration, part of the early modern period and largely overlapping with the Age of Sail, was a period from approximately the 15th century to the 17th century, during which seafarers from a number of European countries explored, colonized, and conquered regions across the globe. The period is characterized as a time when Europeans began exploring the world by sea in search of new trading routes, wealth, and knowledge. The impact of the Age of Exploration would permanently alter the world and transform geography into the modern science it is today. The next fact would be about Protestant Reformation. The Protestant Reformation was a religious reform movement that swept through Europe in the 1500s. It resulted in the creation of a branch of Christianity called Protestantism, a name used collectively to refer to the many religious groups that separated from the Roman Catholic Church due to differences in doctrine. The Protestant Reformation began in Wittenberg, Germany, on October 31, 1517, when Martin Luther, a teacher and a monk, published a document he called Disputation on the Power of Indulgences, or 95 Theses. The document was a series of 95 ideas about Christianity that he invited people to debate with him. These ideas were controversial because they directly contradicted the Catholic Church's teachings. The Protestant Reformation was a religious reform movement that swept through Europe in the 1500s. It resulted in the creation of a branch of Christianity called Protestantism, a name used collectively to refer to the many religious groups that separated from the Roman Catholic Church due to differences in doctrine. Let's talk about Spanish Armada. In 1588, King Philip II of Spain sent an armada, a fleet of ships, to collect his army from the Netherlands, where they were fighting, and take them to invade England. This was done in the name of religion, because England had become Protestant and no longer accepted the Pope as the head of the Church. Spain was Catholic and the Pope had encouraged Philip to try to make England become Catholic again. He also had a political reason to go to war with England because Spain ruled the Netherlands, but the people there were rebelling against Spanish control and England had been helping them. The English were worried about the threat of invasion and they attacked the Spanish ships as they sailed along the channel, but the armada was so strong that most of the ships reached Calais safely. The armada was difficult to attack because it sailed in a crescent shape. While the armada tried to get in touch with the Spanish army, the English ships attacked fiercely. However, an important reason why the English were able to defeat the armada was that the wind blew the Spanish ships northwards. To many English people this proved that God wanted them to win, and there were pictures and medals made to celebrate this fact. Next stop would be China and Great Wall. The Great Wall of China was built over centuries by China's emperors to protect their territory. Today, it stretches for thousands of miles along China's historic northern border. For millennia, Chinese leaders instituted wall-building projects to protect the land from northern, nomadic invaders. One surviving section of such an ancient wall, in the Shandong province, is made of hard-packed soil called rammed earth and is estimated to be 2,500 years old. For centuries during the Warring States period, before China was unified into one nation, such walls defended the borders. Around 220 B.C.E., Qin Shi Huang, also called the first emperor, united China. He masterminded the process of uniting the existing walls into one. At that time, rammed earth and wood made up most of the wall. Emperor after emperor strengthened and extended the wall, often with the aim of keeping out the northern invaders. In some places, the wall was constructed of brick. Elsewhere, quarried granite or even marble blocks were used. The wall was continuously brought up to date as building techniques advanced. Zhu Yuanzhang, who became the Hongwu Emperor, took power in 1368 CE. He founded the Ming dynasty, famous for its achievements in the arts of ceramics and painting. The Ming emperors improved the wall with watchtowers and platforms. Most of the familiar images of the wall show Ming-era construction in the stone. Depending on how the wall is measured, it stretches somewhere between 4,000 and 5,500 kilometers, 2,500 and 3,400 miles. In the 17th century, the Manchu emperors extended Chinese rule into Inner Mongolia, making the wall less important as a defense. However, it has retained its importance as a symbol of Chinese identity and culture. Countless visitors view the wall every year. It may not be clearly visible from space, but it is considered an absolute masterpiece here on Earth. Let's move on to some facts about Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire, historically and colloquially known as the Turkish Empire, was an empire that controlled much of Southeast Europe, West Asia, and North Africa between the 14th and early 20th centuries. Under the reign of Suleiman the Magnificent from 1521-1566, the Ottoman Empire reached the peak of its power and prosperity, as well as the highest development of its governmental, social, and economic systems. After the peak of Ottoman rule under Suleiman the Magnificent in the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire struggled to maintain its bloated bureaucracy and decentralized political structure. Several attempts at reform kept the empire afloat but mostly addressed immediate issues, and any success was short-lived. Let's find out a little information about the 30 Years' War. Was one of the longest and most destructive conflicts in European history, lasting from 1618 to 1648. Fought primarily in Central Europe, an estimated 4.5 to 8 million soldiers and civilians died as a result of battle, famine, or disease, while parts of modern Germany reported population declines of over 50%. The conflict began after Protestants rebelled against Catholic Ferdinand II of Bohemia. With more than 5 million dying in an orgy of violence between Protestants and Catholics, it's little wonder that the 30 Years' War was remembered as the moment when God deserted Europe. Let's talk about Glorious Revolution. The Glorious Revolution is the sequence of events that led to the deposition of James II and VII in November 1688. He was replaced by his daughter Mary II and her Dutch husband, William III of Orange, who was also his nephew. The two ruled as joint monarchs of England, Scotland and Ireland until Mary's death in 1694. The Revolution of 1688 has been called many things: glorious, bloodless, reluctant, accidental, popular. The list continues. It is easy to see why there are so many superlatives associated with such an integral event in the country's history. The removal of the Stuarts, specifically James, was consequently the birth of Jacobitism, so called because the Latin, the language of the Catholic Church, for James is Jacobus, hence his staunch supporters were called Jacobites. There remain those in Scotland to this day, who are still loyal to the idea of the Stuart kings and who continue to toast the young pretender, Bonnie Prince Charlie, who became the king over the water in exile in France, with whiskey every Burns night. Next we're gonna talk about the Salem witch trials. The infamous Salem witch trials began during the spring of 1692, after a group of young girls in Salem Village, Massachusetts, claimed to be possessed by the devil and accused several local women of witchcraft. As a wave of hysteria spread throughout colonial Massachusetts, a special court convened in Salem to hear the cases. The first convicted witch, Bridget Bishop, was hanged that June. 18 others followed Bishop to Salem's Gallows Hill, while some 150 more men, women and children were accused over the next several months. By September 1692, the hysteria had begun to abate and public opinion turned against the trials. Though the Massachusetts General Court later annulled guilty verdicts against accused witches and granted indemnities to their families, bitterness lingered in the community, and the painful legacy of the Salem witch trials would endure for centuries. What caused the Salem witch trials? Belief in the supernatural, and specifically in the devil's practice of giving certain humans, witches, the power to harm others in return for their loyalty, had emerged in Europe as early as the 14th century, and was widespread in colonial New England. In addition, the harsh realities of life in the rural Puritan community of Salem Village, present-day Danvers, Massachusetts, at the time included the after-effects of a British war with France in the American colonies in 1689, a recent smallpox epidemic, fears of attacks from neighboring Native American tribes, and a long-standing rivalry with the more affluent community of Salem town. To talk about early modern history without bringing up the Taj Mahal would be a crime. The Taj Mahal is a famous mausoleum next to the river Yamuna in the Indian city of Agra. A mausoleum is a building where people bury the dead. The name Taj Mahal means the crown of palaces. The most famous part of the Taj Mahal is the large white dome in the center. It is 35 meters high and is surrounded by 4 smaller domes. The rooms inside the building are decorated with beautiful archways and precious stones in the walls. The buildings are surrounded by gardens with pathways, pools, fountains, and green gardens. The construction of the Taj Mahal began in 1632 and finished in 1653. It was built with materials from all over India and Asia, but the main material is white marble. Historians believe that the materials were transported by over 1,000 elephants for the construction. The Emperor Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal as a burial place for his wife, Mumtaz Mahal. According to legend, he wanted to build another Taj Mahal in black on the other side of the river, but this never happened. During the Indian Rebellion of 1857, many parts of the Taj Mahal were damaged by British soldiers, who took some of the precious stones from its walls. Over the years, the Taj Mahal has suffered from environmental damage, and there have been many government attempts to conserve its beauty. The Taj Mahal is one of India's most famous landmarks. There are millions of visitors to the mausoleum every year. The Taj Mahal is almost always included in lists of famous buildings to visit and is considered one of the new 7 wonders of the world. And the last fact would be about first direct blood transfusion to a human. On June 15, 1667, the first direct blood transfusion to a human was performed by the physician Jean-Baptiste Denys, when he gave a feverish young man approximately 12 ounces of blood taken from a lamb. The young man recovered quickly. Denys successfully transfused blood between 2 dogs. Denys affirmed that the idea of transfusion had been conceived by a Benedictine monk, Dom Robert de Gabbets, who had discussed it, in July 1658, in the presence of the illustrious company of scholars that the Count de Montmort had assembled. However, while Richard Lower, 1631–1691, claimed the principle and the first experience of blood transfusion in animals took place in February 1666, in Oxford. On June 15, 1667, Denys performed the first documented human blood transfusion. He transfused 12 ounces of sheep's blood into a 15-year-old boy, who had been excessively bled with leeches. The boy survived the transfusion and rapidly recovered from his lethargy, grew fatter and was an object of surprise and astonishment to all who knew him. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. See you next time.